Part 134. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1331. Chapter 1331. The play is over. Gu Jingxiu suddenly turned around and saw her, her face as pale as a ghost. You. Xia Yingluo covered her chest, coughed a few times, and coughed up a mouthful of blood foam with pieces of internal organs. She spat it out nonchalantly, looking at the two people on the other side of the glass wall with half-smiling eyes, full of ridicule. Wei Lingnan, the play is over, can you let me go? Her voice was clear and sweet, and came out through the sound hole of the laboratory. At this moment, Gu Jingxiu said a complete sentence, aren't you dead? I won't die even if you die. Xia Yingluo looked at her disdainfully, and then spoke to Wei Lingnan, open the door and let me out. She was only wearing a thin white silk nightgown. Her skin and dress were stained with blood, which looked thrillingly gorgeous. The pale light shone on her body, making her look like a goblin from the Sea of Purgatory. How can someone in this world be so beautiful when they are so dirty and embarrassed? Aluo, only Aluo. Wei Lingnan suddenly closed his eyes to get rid of the misconception that Xia Yingluo is a Luo that had arisen in his heart. When he looked at her again, his eyes had returned to coldness. I guess you should learn a lesson, he said to Xia Yingluo. Although the two had just performed a play together, the spectators had not left the scene yet. How could she, who was playing a corpse, resurrect without restraint? Beside her, Gu Jingxiu's hand was holding her tightly. She felt betrayed and deceived, and her voice trembled. Nan, are you teaming up with her to tease me? Every voice is filled with grievances and accusations. Wei Lingnan frowned slightly. Why did you lie to me about having a bad heart? Do you know how worried he is? If she wasn't in a dilemma, how could she come up with such a helpless way to test whether she was sick or not? Aluo, between you and me, if you want me to do something, you don't have to use such subtle means. If I ask you to kill her directly, will you do it? Gu Jingxiu suddenly became angry and shouted at him, Wei Lingnan, yes, I just don't like you being with her. Since you said I don't have to use any hidden means. Okay, I order you to kill her now. Aluo, Wei Lingnan frowned even more. Xia Yingluo was watching the show, but when she saw that Gu Jingxiu was still obsessed with killing herself, she suddenly became unhappy. Hey, can you please stop involving me in your affairs? Gu Jingxiu, let me tell you, you have no ability to control it. This man is your own business and has nothing to do with me. If you dare to touch me today, do you believe that today will be your death anniversary next year? These words were so arrogant that the two people in the dispute turned to look at her. Xia Yingluo licked her fingers, and the bright red blood between her fingers was licked away, revealing her fair skin again. She seemed to be used to cleaning the blood on her body in this way. While talking, she kept making small licking movements. My uncle is not someone to be trifled with. He said that you are still a human on Earth and that just using the compass and feng shui array can cut off your past and present lives. Up and down for 8 generations, if you dare to do something to me, he will make you a slave and a prostitute for the rest of your life. It is possible that you will never be loved forever. Although the price paid is a bit high, who asked you to hurt me? What about me? The anger in my family is terrible. Who are you? Wei Lingnan suddenly asked. Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment. Who is she? Across a glass wall, the man's eyes were fixed on her, and his heart was like a storm raging. It was so similar. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Aluo was a girl who loved to be clean. Even in the worst and embarrassing moments on the battlefield, she would clean up the blood on her body whenever she had free time. At that time, she was like Xia Yingluo now, licking herself carelessly and seductively, as gracefully as the most beautiful polar star bird in the universe combing its feathers. The past flashed through my mind like a storm. The sense of déjà vu in the past and present life is back. If it weren't for Xia Yingluo, she couldn't remember the past. If it weren't for the person who can resonate with the local accent, it would be Gu Jingxiu. Wei Lingnan almost thought that Xia Yingluo was the real Aluo. I am Xia Yingluo. Are you stupid or have you lost your memory? Xia Yingluo didn't know where she had revealed her secret. She was shocked, but she remained calm on the surface. Let me out. Wei Lingnan's expression was scary. He stared at her hard for a long time, but couldn't see any flaws on her face. He stepped forward, opened the door of the laboratory, and released the girl. That's right, Xia Yingluo said lazily, those who know the current affairs are heroes. He glanced at Gu Jingxiu provocatively and was about to leave. Stop, Gu Jingxiu called out to her in a sharp voice, you can come and leave here whenever you want, Nan, catch her. Wei Lingnan stood still and did not move. Xia Yingluo was very satisfied with Wei Lingnan's reaction. Although she had decided not to want this traitor, the traitor's unwillingness to obey other people's orders still made her feel happy. She looked at Gu Jingxiu with a smile and said, Miss Gu, I advise you not to take yourself too seriously. If it weren't for this dog she said, reaching out and patting Wei Lingnan gently, you don't care about anything no. Gu Jingxiu's face was extremely ugly, as if her words had touched the center of things. She wanted to refute, but she couldn't say anything. Which of Xia Yingluo's words was not true? What makes her even more uneasy is that Wei Lingnan doesn't listen to her orders at all. She originally thought that as long as she regained her identity as a Luo, Wei Lingnan would obey her. Xia Yingluo. It's all this woman Xia Yingluo. Why does this woman exist on earth and seduced her? Gu Jingxiu glared at Xia Yingluo fiercely, her eyes about to spit out fire. The angrier she gets, the happier Xia Yingluo becomes and her smile becomes brighter. He turned around lightly and was about to leave the base. But Wei Lingnan grabbed his wrist. What? She whispered angrily, looking up at the man who was much taller than herself. Wei Lingnan held her tightly, and with his other hand, he tore open her thin nightgown with lightning speed. A tearing sound. The air solidifies. Xia Yingluo's mind went blank, and she stood in front of him naked. Half a second later, I felt the blood all over my body rushing to my head. Without thinking, I waved my hand and gave him a hard slap in the face. Even a few hours ago, in the Li family's own boudoir, she changed clothes in front of him without any care, even though they had been skin to skin so many times. This was different from the fact that he violently tore her body apart without any warning. Clothes and dresses are two different things. She's very angry. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1332. Chapter 1332 Alliance Ceremony. Gu Jingxiu screamed, why do you hit someone? Xia Yingluo felt that she had a good temper even if she didn't slap the man in front of her to death. She stretched out her round and small toes, hooked up the torn silk nightgown that had fallen to the ground, and neatly wrapped it back around her body regardless of the bloodstains. Wei Lingnan didn't stop her. He looked away from her with disappointment. He saw clearly just now that the wound on her chest dug by the sharp claws was still dripping with blood. She did not have the energy and healing ability of the Scatena people at all. She was just an ordinary human being. What on earth was he expecting? Wei Lingnan felt that he was crazy. Did he expect her to become a Luo? How is it possible? His Aluo is clearly right in front of him, it's Gu Jingxiu. This realization made him feel disappointed. He suppressed the unwanted thoughts in his heart, took off his clean coat and handed it to her, put it on, I'll find someone to take you home. Xia Yingluo glanced at him. The man's behavior in front of her made her a little scared. Fortunately, her energy had not been completely restored and she could not heal the wound automatically. Otherwise, the flaw would have been exposed just now. It was not safe to stay here for a second longer. She took the coat from Wei Lingnan, put it on unceremoniously, and walked out. This time, Gu Jingxiu did not stop her. In fact, she wanted Xia Yingluo to go as far away as possible. The way Wei Lingnan looked at Xia Yingluo frightened her. She didn't want the two of them to have any contact again. Nan, she said, causing Wei Lingnan to turn his attention back to herself, I lied to you this time because it was my fault. If I cook for you tonight, does it count as apology? The woman's gentle words were soft and gentle. The sound echoed in the air, making one's body feel soft. To be fair, Gu Jingxiu was indeed a very attractive woman. But Wei Lingnan was even more upset. She may be a very nice woman, but his Aluo is not like that. His Aluo should always be aloof, arrogant, and stubborn, confident even if he does something wrong, and never belittle others. What went wrong? Xia Yingluo didn't have so many worries as he did. She got in the car he sent and returned to her home smoothly. The whole family was waiting in the living room, as anxious as ants on a hot pot. When she came back, they all gathered around her, looking at her up and down like an X-ray. Yingluo, are you okay? Why didn't you say anything? You ran to Wei's base in one fell swoop, you're going to scare us to death. Xia Yingluo comforted her family, Dad, Mom, eldest brother, second brother, and uncle, I'm sorry. I think I can solve it myself. I can deal with you. Li Rui was about to explode. If you run away again, I'll break your legs. Xia Yingluo looked at him guiltily and shrank behind Li Lei. Li Lei originally wanted to break her legs, but he was very unhappy when Li Rui stole his line. He cleared his throat and looked at her with a straight face. My little girl's wings are stiff, and she dares to run around anywhere, right? Take away all your pocket money for next year. Huh, Dad, Xia Yingluo was about to cry. She is not afraid of facing Wei Lingnan or quarreling with Gu Jingxiu, but, withholding all her pocket money. Why didn't Dad just kill her? Li Lei was unmoved and glanced at her body sharply. Injured? Go and take care of it. The car is ready for you. We will go back to Xia's house with your uncle later. Wei Lingnan was riding on her body. His coat was clean, but the smell of blood couldn't be covered, and Li Lei could smell it immediately. His words made everyone worried. Xia Yingluo comforted her family with a dry smile, then went into the house to clean her wounds. The wound on the chest was not big, but deep, and the bones could be faintly seen, which was very shocking. Xia Yingluo gently stroked the wound with her fingers, and the scene of the man stabbing her flashed in her mind. She never thought that she would be hurt by Nan, but since the Skartana planet hundreds of millions of years ago, after the rebellion last year, there seemed to be nothing to be surprised about. He took medicine and changed his clothes. She got in the car and went to the Xia family with her uncle Xia Moyan. 3 days of traveling, 3 days of preparation, and on the 7th day, the altar was officially opened. Xia Moyan wore a sacrificial robe as white as snow. Surrounded by her tribe, she made an alliance with her. It was an oath between the earth and Skatana. The moment the covenant was made, some invisible energy rippled, and flowers rained down from the sky, one after another, like a dream. Xia Yingluo felt that any dark restraints on her body were taken away by the rain of flowers. She understood that it was a symbol that her rejection was gone and her body was healthy again. Thank you. She closed her eyes and said silently to the omnipresent will of the planet in the air. After the ceremony was over and they got off the altar, Xia Moyan asked her with a hint of concern, how was it? Xia Yingluo smiled sweetly at her uncle, I'm fine. Uncle, please come back to City S with me. I have a lot to tell you about the application of the laws of the universe and all kinds of knowledge. Xia Moyan nodded. It was part of her covenant to impart knowledge to humans. However, why should I go back to City S with you? It will be safer if you stay here. The Xia family's territory has been run for generations, and even Wei Lingnan can't get in. Xia Yingluo said, I can't stay here forever. Sooner or later I have to go out and face him. He doesn't know that I am a Luo now, and Gu Jingxiu has figured out the matter of poaching his heart, so he probably won't attack me for the time being. I want to go out and make some preparations to accumulate energy. When my parents and family leave the Earth in 100 years, I will go back to the planet Scatana no matter what, because I have my responsibilities there. Xiaomoyan understood. In order to return to Scatana, she had to make some preparations. What exactly do you need to do? He asked his niece. Is there anything I can do to help you? Xia Yingluo glanced at her uncle gratefully. I need a spaceship, but there is no need to prepare this separately. Since Wei Lingnan can cross such a long distance to the Earth, he must have one there. I will take him with me when I leave. I won't leave him behind to harm mankind. What I need to prepare now is energy. I must restore my endless lifespan to cope with endless travels in the next few decades. The focus of her plan is to collect energy. However, Xiaomoyan is worried about another thing. Are you going to take Wei Lingnan with you then? Xia Yingluo nodded. He is very dangerous. I don't worry about leaving him here. The Scatana tribe is a cruel war race that can easily destroy a planet without even frowning. Xia Yingluo believes that, destroying the Earth will not stir up any waves in Wei Lingnan's heart. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1333. Chapter 1333, Scandal. Xiaomoyan said, will he be harmful to you? Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment, then smiled, don't worry about me, uncle. I'm hiding my identity now not because I'm afraid of him, I just think he's annoying. She didn't want to get entangled in that relationship, so she hid quietly. Nothing more, but he is my guardian. I will tell him my identity on the day I leave the Earth, and he will obey unconditionally. Xiaomoyan was slightly relieved. Thinking about energy, he asked her, how do you plan to collect energy? She had already had a plan in her mind, and she said methodically at this time, the most abundant energy of each planet lies in the spiritual projection of their highest life forms. If this projection is aimed at an individual, then the individual can gain huge energy. According to you, it is the power of faith and worship. The two of them walk slowly along the gravel path under the altar. Xia Yingluo's voice was clear and calm. To put it more clearly, I plan to become a superstar, just like my mother, who is admired by everyone and has countless fans. Follow it like crazy. By then, you will be able to collect enough energy. Enough energy to support your return to Scatana. No, Xia Yingluo smiled, it's enough energy for me to start the spacecraft and continue to replenish energy during the long journey. Xiaomoyan's expression was a little solemn. Is the energy on the Earth so weak? Xia Yingluo saw his worries and comforted. The Earth has huge potential, but it has not been developed yet, and the Scatana people are so powerful that there is no comparison at all. Uncle, if we were to change to another person in the universe today, for a medium race, the energy on Earth is enough to fill it up. Xiaomoyan felt a little relieved now. As a national preceptor, he had too many things to worry about. The two of them reached a consensus on the next plan, and set off back to City S the next day. The family members in S City were very concerned about her and asked about the progress of the matter. Xia Yingluo was afraid that they would be reluctant to let go, so she did not tell them that she would leave the Earth in a few years. She only said that she needed to replenish energy to maintain the operation of this unique body, and the best way to replenish energy was to become a big star and absorb the power of worship. People are not surprised when a reborn phoenix appears in their family. Even Li Rui smiled lazily and said, okay, I'll find something to do for you, a lazy girl, so that you don't have to stay at home all day long and waste food. "You're the one wasting food." She glared at her second brother with aggrieved and unhappy eyes, making him laugh. This is the sister he is familiar with, the baby of their family. Fortunately, she has not changed with the recent events. It is not easy to be a big star, but she was born in the Lee family, a family that owns half of the entertainment industry. For her, many things that are difficult for others are a piece of cake. For example, she can use first-class director and screenwriter resources to create a blockbuster movie tailored for her, and invite popular superstars to act for her. All of this is most. She is not pretentious. She obviously has so many resources and must make good use of them. She will not pretend to be aloof and push out everything at her fingertips, and she has no interest in climbing up step by step like an ordinary newcomer. It would be a fool not to take a shortcut, and besides, time waits for no one. She must collect enough energy in just a few decades. The Lee family helped her arrange everything in an orderly manner. The script writing has begun and filming is expected to start in half a year. During this period, Xia Yingluo was not idle either. She dressed up carefully and went out with actor Zhang Yu, shopping in shopping malls, eating desserts, and celebrating Christmas. The paparazzi photographed them many times. The two were intimate and chatting and laughing. There are rumors that they are in love. The young and promising movie star and the rich and famous lady can be regarded as a love story. In the photos that were taken secretly, both of them are very good looking. The handsome man and the beautiful woman are charming, just like the dreamy scenes in idol dramas that make people blush and heartbeat. In a French restaurant, Zhang Yu pushed her mobile phone to the middle of the dining table covered with white tablecloth and pointed it to Xia Yingluo with a smile. "This picture was taken last time we were in Yingxiubei. I asked you to turn your face slightly. If you don't do it, it would be more beautiful if you turn it sideways, really." Xia Yingluo leaned over and looked at the photo. "Okay, I guess you are right, but I am also very beautiful like this." "It's beautiful as you say." Zhang Yu smiled. She is indeed beautiful in the photo. In the snow covered with Christmas trees, her delicate white face was wrapped in a soft scarf, her head slightly raised, her crystal clear eyes looking at him with a bit of a smile, like a quiet and well-behaved deer. He looked at her and said in a very soft voice, "That person is really blind to look down on you." "Who says it's not?" She wrinkled her little nose and took a sip of wine from the goblet. Him, I'm with you now anyway." "Don't praise me." Zhang Yu smiled bitterly. "They are obviously just having fun." Not long ago, she suddenly found him and said that she would use his fame as a great movie star to hype up the news for a few days. Specifically, she wanted to make the outside world mistakenly think that they were a couple, thereby quickly increasing her popularity, and for preparing for the upcoming movie shooting. Zhang Yu agreed immediately. Xia Yingluo was a little surprised at that time. "Why don't you think about it before replying to me? It's just a scandal, not a real relationship. What good will it do to you?" "It's the biggest benefit that the boss's eldest daughter asks me for help." Zhang Yu smiled warmly and casually. "I'm an actor from Tianyi. Isn't it right for me to have a good relationship with you? In other words, if you come to me, and thank you for looking up to me." Xia Yingluo, seeing that she was really feeling sorry for herself, Zhang Yu said, "Well, actually, this matter is of great benefit to me. The gossip also depends on the partner. Being with a girl like you who is beautiful and has a good family background will definitely not lower your status. It has also improved my image and popularity, and by the way, it will help me avoid some bad romances. Recently, there have been so many blind little girls trying to hook up with me, and I'm really annoyed." Xia Yingluo laughed when she heard this. Zhang Yu glared at her gently. "Is it that funny? I'm not lying to you. Some young actors will do anything to get a position. Last time, they even slipped some sexual potion into my drink. It was so crazy." Xia Yingluo had heard some of these shady stories in the entertainment industry from her elders who were artists since she was a child. At this time, she could only look at Jiang Yu with sympathy. "Okay, I'll save you." The two hit it off and became a rumored couple. They went shopping every day and their popularity soared like a rocket. In the French restaurant, the two of them were enjoying a candlelight dinner while discussing the recent results. If this trend continues, Xia Yingluo will become extremely popular even without having a single work. She smiled brightly and clinked glasses with Jiang Yu. The two drank happily and were slightly tipsy. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1334. Chapter 1334. I've wanted to slap you for a long time. During the dinner, she got up and went to the bathroom. In the corridor, the marble floor is as smooth as a mirror, and the chandeliers on both sides are so bright that it makes people dizzy. Xia Yingluo walked carelessly and staggered a bit. She bumped into someone for some reason. Before she could react, she was pulled into the corner by that person. Her fighting instinct was aroused in an instant, and she grabbed the man's hand without thinking. She was so drunk that she couldn't control her strength. If she killed him, she could directly kill him. But the man defied her attack in a smooth manner, and instead forced her into a small space in the corner. His movements were skillful, as if he had practiced them thousands of times. Xia Yingluo finally woke up. She looked up and saw a familiar and handsome face with a slight coldness and indifference. It turned out to be Wei Lingnan. Her heart was ringing with alarm. What was this man doing here? Just now, when she was drunk, she instinctively used the fighting moves commonly used by Scanada Star. Could he see something? She couldn't help but stand up straight, her back pressed against the cold stone wall. "What are you doing here?" Wei Lingnan looked down at her, his eyes dark and emotionless. The girl in his arms had a light body fragrance that smelled as good as an orchid. Her delicate little face was stained with anger, and she looked at him warily, as if she was ready to attack at any time. He remembered that hundreds of millions of years ago, his little princess was like this. She would adopt such a posture when she was offended, which made people want to take care of her. "He is not worthy of you," Wei Lingnan said. Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment before she realized that he was talking about Jiang Yu, and she got angry. "Have you seen the news these days? Very good, then you should have a new life. Please don't bother me again. I will take your Gujingxiu as far as you can." "Why?" His voice was a little dark. "Why?" Xia Yingluo just thought he was crazy. If it weren't for the fact that she would need him to hand over the spaceship a few years later, she would really want to kill him now. "Since we broke up, isn't it normal to find a new man? Just let you have Gujingxiu." She obviously didn't have that kind of relationship with Jiang Yu, but she couldn't help but want to anger him. Wei Lingnan said, "Why do you do this?" His hand grasped her hand again with lightning speed, and the tricky angle was exactly the same as when she made the move. Wei Lingnan's eyes were deep. "Who are you?" Xia Yingluo was shocked. Just now she prayed that he would not discover this little flaw of hers, but she didn't expect that he would see through it at a glance. There was no other way. The two were too familiar with each other when they were on the planet Scatana. The Guardian and the Princess had the closest relationship to begin with, and even the battle routines were figured out together. "Closing your eyes, you know each other's moves?" She calmed down, raised her eyes and looked at him mockingly. "I am me, Xia Yingluo." "What, has Mr. Wei lost his memory? You mistook me for some kind of a luo before, and then abandoned me so easily. Why are you here to stalk me again? Tell me, who do you think I am this time?" Her words startled him. A luo is obviously Gujingxiu. He has awakened, and the fact that he can speak the language of Scatana is proof of this. But what about the girl in front of me? Why does he always have a strong sense of déjà vu? There is a voice deep in his heart that keeps saying, "She is a luo, she is a luo." But, how is it possible? She is clearly not awakened, knows nothing, and cannot even use energy to make the voice of the Scatena tribe. She is just a human being. Seeing that he was silent, Xia Yingluo had no patience to waste time with him here, so she pushed him angrily, "Get out of the way." This push did not use energy, and the strength of the human girl alone could not move him at all. Instead, her own hand was pushed so hard that it hurt, and she glared at him. But he was as motionless as copper pouring iron, holding one hand on the wall, trapping her in a small space between himself and the wall, leaning down, lowering his head, and kissed her lips without warning. Just like the sweet feeling in my memory. Wei Lingnan was in a daze, remembering that hundreds of millions of years ago, when Aluo was still a little princess, she was injured and developed a high fever, and fell asleep in a trench full of blood. He took care of her sleeplessly. The stars were bright that night, and her face was so beautiful when reflected on it. He couldn't help but kiss the corner of her lips. The soft and sweet taste made his heart tremble. That was the only kiss they had in their long years on Scatena. He kissed Xia Yingluo in his arms almost reverently, and time seemed to go back to that starry night hundreds of millions of years ago. She was the sweet little princess who was ignorant of the world but had to be forced to go to the battlefield, and he is her eternal guardian. Pa, a crisp sound. Wei Lingnan covered half of his face and let her go. No woman can slap me. His voice was very deep. Even Aluo, who was hundreds of millions of years ago, would only use the simplest and most effective attack method to hurt him with blood when he was angry, like slapping him. The Scatena people never do anything that has more symbolic meaning than actual effect. Yeah, I'm really sorry, I wanted to slap you a long time ago. Xia Yingluo waved her hand. She slapped him last time in the underground laboratory. Now that she thinks about it, this kind of thing seems to be addictive. Xia Yingluo regretted that there was no such attack method on Scatena before. Otherwise, when he launched a rebellion to try to get her hundreds of millions of years ago, she should have slapped him until he didn't even know his mother. No, the Scatena tribe seems to have no mother in the first place. Xia Yingluo felt that after staying on Earth for a long time, her whole thinking would become human thinking. Wei Lingnan pushed her back against the wall and kissed her again. This time there was no gentleness in the kiss, just rough nibbling and punishment. He couldn't tell what was the reason for the anger in his heart. Could it be that she actually used an attack method that Aluo never used? Was it the contempt on her face? No matter what, he just wanted to tear her apart. Xia Yingluo cried out in pain, and then realized that she couldn't resist him, so she simply stopped struggling. After Wei Lingnan bit her for a long time and the smell of blood was too strong to ignore, he realized something was wrong. Let her go, and her lips, which were originally as soft and beautiful as petals, were covered in mottled scars, and blood seeped out bit by bit, which was shocking. But she seemed not to feel anything. She just raised her hand and wiped it casually. Even her voice was very calm. Have you lost your nerve? Then get out. The unknown fire in his heart flared up again. Sensing that something was wrong with his expression, she sneered, "Why, aren't you crazy enough? I'm curious, how will you explain to your Gujingxia when you treat me like this? If you come to harass me again, believe it or not, I will tell you all these things. Tell her and see if she doesn't make a big fuss about you." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1335. Chapter 1335 Final Makeup Photo. At this moment, she was actually a little grateful for the existence of that woman Gujingxiu, who saved her so much trouble. Wei Lingnan's face was horribly gloomy, and he stared at her deeply, as if he wanted to eat her to pieces. After a long while, he slowly took 2 steps back to give her enough space to pass. Xia Yingluo snorted coldly, no longer delayed, straightened her appearance and left. Back to his seat in the restaurant, The white tablecloth is still filled with precious porcelain, foie gras, red wine, and caviar. Zhang Yu was turning the goblet in her hand and waiting for her boredly. When she saw the scars between her beautiful lips, she couldn't help but said, "Miss Xia, did you bump into a young girl or an old lover when you went out just now? Why did you do this to yourself? If this was photographed by a reporter, what kind of beast would I become?" Xia Yingluo was amused by him. "I can explain it to the reporter." "No, how do you explain it?" Zhang Yu said with a respectful expression. "Tell them I didn't do it." "Forget it, being a cuckold is more terrifying than being treated like a beast, okay?" Xia Yingluo smiled again. "Then I can only treat you like a beast." She raised her goblet of crystal red wine and touched it lightly with him. The drink touched the wound between her lips, causing some pain. Xia Yingluo unexpectedly recalled the scene at the corner of the corridor just now. It was clear that she was so relieved when she slapped Wei Lingnan, but why did she feel so sour and sad now? Her expression became darker little by little. Zhang Yu saw this and stopped laughing. He asked her softly, "Did you meet Wei Lingnan?" She whispered, "I don't understand, why does he still come to provoke me when he already has Gu Jingxiu?" Men always eat from the bowl and look at the pot. Zhang Yu spared no effort to slander her love rival. Some men are like this. They don't cherish your kindness when they are with you, but when they break up, they can't let you go. I don't think he likes you that much, but he doesn't want you to care about him anymore and hurt his self-esteem. Xia Yingluo's expression became darker, and she drank sips of wine. Zhang Yu took off the cup in her hand. "It's not worth hurting your body for that kind of scum. Yingluo, you can't drink anymore. I'll take you home." Xia Yingluo was in a mess. Wei Lingnan's appearance ruined her original good mood. She had no intention of continuing to eat out, so she nodded and was sent home by Zhang Yu. The media photographed her again in front of her home. Zhang Yu arranged her scarf little by little and smiled, "Don't move. They are so photogenic, handsome, and beautiful, with perfect family backgrounds. The media always talks about them." As soon as the photos of tonight came out, there was another round of admiration. Wei Lingnan threw the newspaper. In the study, Gu Jingxiu opened the door and came in. She was stunned for a moment when she saw his movements, and then called softly, "Nan." Wei Lingnan turned his head and saw that it was her, and his expression softened slightly. Gu Jingxiu's eyes fell on the newspaper on the ground. On the newspaper, Xia Yingluo's smile was so bright that it was dazzling. Was Nan just angry because of this woman? Gu Jingxiu felt like there was a fire burning in her heart, but she suppressed it and said nonchalantly, "My friend gave me 2 tickets for the horse racing match. How about we go watch it together?" Since his memory awakened, Gu Jingxiu has tried his best to join the army. Lingnan was interested. Seeing that he was used to fighting in the past, he guessed that maybe he would like competitive sports such as horse racing. However, Wei Lingnan didn't like it. He was even slightly disappointed. This kind of sport was not fun at all in his eyes, who was used to seeing big scenes of life and death. Based on his understanding of a Luo would not like it, but Gu Jingxiu was looking forward to it with all her heart. Look, he couldn't help but feel disappointed. Suddenly a thought came to mind, it would be great if it was Xia Yingluo who woke up. How could it happen that by some mistake, a Luo would become like Gu Jingxiu after waking up? This thought only flashed through his mind, and he suppressed it. The feeling of guilt arose spontaneously. How could he be unfaithful to a Luo? So he said to Gu Jingxiu in a friendly manner, "I will go with you." Gu Jingxiu was in a good mood and thought that Wei Lingnan really liked him, so she stepped forward and took his hand, talking about getting ready and dressing up. Wei Lingnan's thoughts flew to Xia Yingluo in the distance uncontrollably. Xia Yingluo has been living a good life recently. Ever since she decided to give up on Wei Lingnan, she tried her best not to think about anything about that man and focused on collecting energy. Specifically, how to make a name for yourself. The screenwriter Li Lei found for her has already written a script, which is a science fiction story about Star Wars called Star Wars Era. She had read the script, which was very gorgeous and magnificent. It added a new element she revealed to the entire imagination of the Earth's indigenous people about the universe. The new element was very small and would not be noticed by Wei Lingnan, but it gave it the entire script is breathed into new life. After watching it, Tianyi's top executives concluded that this would be a very good film. Xia Yingluo plays the heroine, and the makeup artist did a very effective makeup photo for her. In the makeup photo, she is wearing a silver white armor with lavender light. She has an elegant and slender figure, an arrogant look, and sharp eyes like a queen dominating the world. Although, in order to prevent Wei Lingnan from noticing anything, she does not appear in the whole movie. The character she plays is just a female warrior. But such a female warrior has caused an uproar among people. People are discussing her makeup photos in the streets and alleys. She is so beautiful and full of aura that it dazzles people and makes them want to prostrate themselves. Everyone is looking forward to the release of this film, and some critics have even predicted that this will be the best science fiction film in recent years. Even the makeup brands used in the makeup photos are popular. Warness, a well-known company that provides cosmetics, simply signed an agreement with Xia Yingluo and asked her to endorse Warness products. Xia Yingluo now wants to gain popularity, so she readily accepted the invitation and shot very high-quality endorsement ads non-stop. Her official video shooting has not yet started, but her popularity has exploded, and her name can be heard talking about her in the streets and alleys. Everyone is looking forward to more wonderful miracles brought by this proud daughter of heaven. Yes, her makeup photos and advertising endorsements are miracles. There is no need for dynamic performances at all. Just a gesture and a look in the photo can make people surrender. The sales of Huanisi Cosmetics increased overwhelmingly, and soon surpassed her long-standing rival. The company was very happy. The president of the Asia-Pacific region came to see Xia Yingluo, thanked her for everything she had done for Warness, and invited her to shoot another spring advertising blockbuster. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1336. Chapter 1336 Raising Troops to Investigate Crimes. Xia Yingluo happily agreed. A few days later, I came to the studio as scheduled. The staff in the studio are busy setting up the scenery and debugging equipment. Xia Yingluo was surrounded by her managers and assistants as she walked through the crowd and walked to a special dressing room to change clothes and put on makeup. In order to match the upcoming movie, this spring advertising blockbuster also took a surreal science fiction route, Star Era. Bloom. The theme sounds charming and full of epic feeling. It complements her cool and charming female warrior outfit. The Earth's technology is backward. To create a gorgeous and murderous female warrior armor, one has to rely on special effects makeup. Various cosmetics and materials are covered layer by layer on Xia Yingluo's body. Under the bright lights, so boring that many staff members were covered in a thin layer of sweat. Manager Tan Ying brought a glass of water to Xia Yingluo, ice lemon water, you can cool down. There should be no sweat on your face that will affect your makeup. Xia Yingluo stood in an open space, letting several special effects makeup artists fiddle with her outfit. She could hardly lift the arm holding the rocket launcher at a height of half a person. She did not reach out to take the water handed over by Tan Ying. She only said, "Thank you Uncle Tan, I'm not hot." That's right, this Uncle Tan was the famous principal of the Tianyi training camp, and later became Li Lei's assistant who was transferred back to the headquarters. Tan Ying didn't have any big ambitions. After working for Li Lei for 10 years, he retired and returned to China to take care of himself and spend time with his wife and children. This time, it was because Xia Yingluo was going to debut as an artist and Li Lei was worried about handing over his precious daughter to another agent, so he asked him to come out again. With such a senior qualification, Tan Yingke is not afraid of her drink. Just because it's not hot now doesn't mean it won't be hot later. If you spend a lot of money on makeup, you have to put it on again. It's such a thick layer. You don't have to mess around for hours to finish it. Your time is precious now. There will be an exclusive interview with magazine figures tonight, all of them are waiting for you. You don't want to be accused of being a big name just after your debut, right? Xia Yingluo was speechless. She just said that she was not hot, and then she elicited such a long list of lessons from Uncle Tan. She really wanted to cry. She couldn't tell him that her physique was different from ordinary people and she didn't like to sweat that much. He accepted the ice lemonade resignedly and drank it. Over there, several special effects makeup artists finally finished arranging Xia Yingluo's armor and straightened up. Jerry, the leader, wiped his sweat and exhaled, "It's finally good. I won't design such a complicated thing next time. It will kill my life to make it." Fortunately, this outfit was not completely used in the movie. Otherwise all the stylists and stage managers will cry to death. Xia Yingluo also breathed a sigh of relief. Although she was not hot or tired, it was quite boring to stand for so long. "But it's very beautiful, isn't it?" She smiled and winked at Jerry. "There are several things I suggested you do. Are you dissatisfied with me by complaining like this?" Don't dare, Jerry waved his hands repeatedly. He couldn't afford to offend the super socialite with a powerful background. "Ms. Ya, your design is really good, especially the arc on the arm guard. Why didn't I? What do you think? Let alone a performance prop, this kind of design is probably very practical even on the battlefield, and it is not inferior at all." This compliment is not unintentional. The design details of Xia Yingluo's armor were adjusted based on her combat experience in her previous life, and it is 100% practical. Of course, when placed in movies and commercials, it increases the realism and murderousness of the armor. Xia Yingluo narrowed her eyes and smiled. Tan Ying looked at her watch and said impatiently, "Jerry, don't get too close here. You will join the cast anyway when the movie starts. How can we strike up a conversation then? Hurry up and tell the director that Yingluo has put on her makeup. Finish the filming early and leave early, it's already too late." This suit of armor was more difficult to put on than expected, which wasted a lot of time. Strangely, the filming should have started long ago, but the director and the camera crew were so embarrassed. No one came to rush them. As the chief stylist, Jerry didn't need to do these errands, but the person who instructs him is Tan Ying, a veteran in the entertainment industry, so he doesn't mind making the strip. Unexpectedly, I haven't seen him back for a long time. Tan Ying frowned, feeling that something was wrong, so she said to Xia Yingluo, "Wait here, I'll go take a look." Xia Yingluo had been standing for a long time, and she didn't want to continue standing here stupidly, so she said, "I am coming too." Tan Ying glanced at her but didn't stop her. Mr. Boss asked him to be her manager, not to be her nanny. Mr. Tan still remembers how difficult this little girl's mother was back then. In line with the principle of doing more than doing less, he can follow the principle. When the mother and daughter were together, he would never bother to refute. The two came to the shooting area together. Over there, Jerry was arguing with the director. "What, you just changed the person you said? Do you know how difficult it is to make such a look? All the props and accessories are made according to Miss Ya's size, height, fatness, face shape. If you change to another actor, you will have to do it all over again. You are crazy." The director whispered something. Jerry was even more excited. "Do you know the style or do I know it? The same forehead ornament will have different effects on different people if it is just 1 centimeter different. Do you know how long our styling team worked overtime to make this set? You want to change? Okay. I will destroy all these things. Don't waste it on Amao and Ago. Why is Tang Yuan a cat and a dog? The director was also anxious and raised his voice. He could hear it from 5 or 6 meters away. Miss Tang is a movie queen. Even if the size of the props is a little off, it can't damage your sign. What can I do if I want to change someone? If you can, go to Huanisi's boss. Xia Yingluo's face turned slightly cold. Even after hearing a few words, she understood that Huanisi was going to change people, and the original advertising endorsement for her was given to Tang Yuan. She turned her head and glanced at Tan Ying. At this time, it is time for the agent to appear. Tan Ying gave her a calm look and walked a few steps to the arguing crowd. What's going on? His voice was calm and displeased, making the air in the scene freeze suddenly. When the director saw that it was him, he felt a little guilty and put on a smile. Mr. Tan, why are you here? Sit down, sit down. Tan Ying did not sit still, but went straight to the point. I heard that you want to remove the Yingluo. The voice was not high, but it was full of invisible pressure. The director wanted to raise his head to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, but held back. I only received the order half an hour ago. The superior did not explain why. Mr. Tan, I also want to ask you the reason. How can you and Warnes be so nice, falling out? There will be another update tonight. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1337. Chapter 1337. The situation is unclear. Tan Ying is very irritable and wants to imitate a stylist and yell, "You are crazy, who knows what Warnes is feeling?" But he was worthy of being an old Jianghu. He calmed down in an instant and made a decisive decision. Director Li, let's shoot as planned first. I will negotiate with Warnes no matter what happened over there. Xia Yingluo's makeup was put on. Well, all the preparations have been done, and more importantly, this person cannot be left behind if he is withdrawn at the last moment. The eldest daughter of the Li family, who has attracted worldwide attention, is bound to be the most beautiful even if she has just debuted. If a newcomer is overshadowed by Tang Yuan in her first endorsement, the price drop will be too much. No matter what, we cannot give in this time. The director was in a dilemma. I have progress here. Looking up, he saw Tan Ying's stern look, and his heart skipped a beat. Several of Li Lei's confidants were notoriously evil. Even though Tan Ying had retired from the world a long time ago and had just come back, his reputation was still as strong as ever. Such a cruel general came all the way to protect the boss's daughter. If he was offended, what good would he get? Director Li is not stupid. He tried to protect himself wisely. Okay, let's shoot for Miss Xia first. Tan Ying's face looked better now. Xia Yingluo walked over step by step and smiled sweetly at Tan Ying. Uncle Tan is so awesome. He impressed the director with just a few words. No wonder my dad specifically named him to be his agent. He is very professional. However, before she could express her inner admiration, she saw a beautiful female star walking over from the other side of the studio, surrounded by her manager and assistants. Wearing a dress that looked priceless at first glance, she glanced at Xia Yingluo with some anger and arrogance, then turned to question the director. What's going on? Didn't I tell you to change people? Why did you let Xia Yingluo do it? Yingluo shoot. The director glanced at Xia Yingluo carefully before replying to Tang Yuan. Ms. Tang, go ahead and put on your makeup. We'll start shooting once you've put on your makeup. As he spoke, he winked at the stylist. Jerry, why don't you take Miss Tang to the dressing room? He had a good idea. Since the direction of the current situation is unclear, he simply made two preparations. He shot one version for Xia Yingluo and one for Tang Yuan. As for which version of the advertisement will be used in the end, it depends. The power struggle behind the two actresses has come to an end. However, he was a little curious. As Tang Yuan, who gave her the courage to go against Xia Yingluo. Stylist Jerry was very unhappy and said loudly, "Director Li, I told you that this armor is a work of art. It was tailor-made for Miss Xia Yingluo. We don't have any extra for Miss Tang. If you want to style Miss Tang, okay, please hire Gao Ming, but my team and I won't take care of you." The director's face turned dark. How come these people were not helping each other? At this time, Tang Yuan also understood that they were going to let her wear Xia Yingluo and use the rest. She lowered her face slightly and looked at her assistant Qiangzi. Qiangzi knew very well what his master meant. Such quarrels usually fell on him, so he took a step forward and said, "Director Li, and you, the stylist, what do you mean?" "We, Sister Tang, it's Huanisi's company who spent a lot of money to invite me here. If you are so negligent, be careful not to take advantage of it." The director cursed in his heart, why are the two of them so difficult to serve? On the surface, I have to put on a smile, I understand everything. She spoke clearly, but did not express any attitude. The situation is unclear at the moment, and the people on Xia Yingluo's side are obviously unwilling to give up this advertisement. With her strong background, God knows whether Huanisi company will make concessions. Don't forget that he just helped Tang Yuan offend Xia Yingluo, and Huanisi company changed its mind over there. He decided to wait and see what happened. Tang Yuan was angry when she saw him being so naughty, but there was nothing she could do. She and Xia Yingluo didn't get along very well. They had a conflict as early as the last time Jin Linger was filming. Although it ended with Tang Yuan bowing her head and apologizing, the knot in her heart remained. However, despite this, she did not dare to openly disagree with Xia Yingluo. After all, Xia Yingluo was a proud girl with an amazing background. Tang Yuan had to endure it before she could get angry and fight with such a shining and arrogant princess. She hibernated, endured, and avoided, as if Xia Yingluo didn't exist. However, perhaps it was fate. Someone came to her door a few days ago and asked her to replace Xia Yingluo in this commercial. Tang Yuan didn't agree at first. She knew the importance. Although she and Xia Yingluo didn't deal with each other, they didn't have a deadly feud, so there was no need for further stalemate. But the other party told her that Xia Yingluo had long known that she had framed Jin Linger for falling into the water and nearly dying from a fever, and had been planning revenge. He also threatened her that if she didn't replace this advertisement, everything she had worked hard for since her debut, fame, fortune, money, glory, would be taken away from her. She didn't believe it. It wasn't until a few days after that meeting that her face, which she had always been proud of, began to ulcerate without warning. She went to the best hospitals in the world but could not find the cause, and she panicked. No. She doesn't want her face to rot. For an actress, nothing is more important than a beautiful face. She will really be destroyed. Fear, like a demon, gripped her heart tightly. The other party came to the door again, this time, bringing a bottle of medicine to treat the face. She wanted to kneel down and beg the other party to give her the medicine. She burst into tears and obeyed her words. She vowed to reject Xia Yingluo's advertisement. The other party smiled with satisfaction, "Very good, from now on, you will be Miss Gu's ally." Only then did she understand who was pulling her against Xia Yingluo. It was Gu Jingxiu, the daughter of Gu's perfume group. However, it was strange that the Gu family was just an ordinary wealthy family. How could they have the strength to be so mysterious and terrifying? Disfiguring medicine? Tang Yuan didn't dare to think about it deeply. At this time, she was standing in the studio and could only deal with Xia Yingluo. "Miss Xia, Warness has decided to change people. It's not good for you to hang on, isn't it?" Xia Yingluo's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and she wore a battle armor, with a faint murderous aura spreading. Several people around her couldn't help but step back, and Tang Yuan, who was being stared at by her, felt weak on her feet and could hardly stand the look in this girl's eyes, is so scary. She is worthy of being the daughter of the world's largest Chinese underground leader, so powerful. Everyone can't help but think. Xia Yingluo's voice spread in the air, let me guess, Gu Jingxiu asked you to come? You seem to be very happy to be used as a weapon by that trash. Rubbish. She actually called the eldest daughter of the Gu family a piece of trash in public. Even though everyone knows that these two celebrities are incompatible with each other, it is one thing to have an undercurrent in private, and it is another thing for Xia Yingluo, as a public figure, to curse without hesitation. Only the daughter of the Li family dares to be so unscrupulous. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1338. Chapter 1338 Excellent Performance. Tang Yuan's face turned pale. In her heart, she actually agreed with Xia Yingluo's statement and felt that the woman who threatened her with despicable means was trash. But now she is on the same boat with Gu Jingxiu, so what can she do? On the contrary, she was jealous that Xia Yingluo was so powerful, proud, and unscrupulous. Why did she have to work hard in the entertainment industry to reach her current status while everyone was a woman, and she would be threatened if she wasn't careful? But what about Xia Yingluo? As soon as she debuted, she was protected by people like Tan Ying, and she was able to provoke the movie queen as a newcomer. She managed with great difficulty to control her eyes and prevent her overwhelming jealousy from flowing out. Looking at Xia Yingluo faintly, she said, "This matter has nothing to do with Miss Gu. My agency took over this announcement for me. I am just fulfilling my duties. Miss Xia, if you have any dissatisfaction, please contact Huani Go negotiate with SI, don't hinder my normal shooting, please take off this armor." The director on the side was so anxious that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This Tang Yuan was lucky enough to be a movie queen. Did she even wink? Even if she accepted the notice, wouldn't she know how to give in and let Xia Yingluo shoot one version first? Why offend someone by sending them to death? What he didn't know was that Tang Yuan also had troubles that she couldn't tell. She didn't want to confront Xia Yingluo, but she knew very well that if she didn't try her best to confront Xia Yingluo today, Gu Jingxiu would definitely make her look good if she found out. That kind of medicine that ruins the face is too terrible. The consequences of offending a Xia Yingluo are better than being disfigured. Xia Yingluo sneered softly. Tang Yuan didn't want her to shoot one version first, and she didn't want Tang Yuan to shoot one version too. Clear the place. She didn't even bother to look at Tang Yuan and said directly to Tan Ying. Tan Ying immediately understood what she meant and gave a thumbs up in her heart. To be honest, although Lord Boss's wife and daughter are difficult to maintain and hypocritical, they are still very powerful when faced with such a scene of fighting, and they will never bring down their status. Given Miss Xia's status, quarreling with Tang Yuan would be too demeaning, so simply ignoring her would be the best choice. He nodded and called the staff, "Clear the place." When they came to take the notice, they brought a few assistants and bodyguards with them. They immediately started to move and kicked out the irrelevant people. "Clear the place, clear the place." The other staff members looked at each other, not knowing what to do. They looked at the director eagerly, waiting for him to speak. The director was so anxious that he was sweating. He didn't want to stop her, or not to stop her. The people on Xia Yingluo's side said they wanted to clear the scene, but who couldn't actually see it? Just drive Tang Yuan out? Sure enough, Xia Yingluo's bodyguards quickly arrived in front of Tang Yuan. "Miss Tang, please leave immediately." Tang Yuan laughed angrily, "You want to drive me away? I want to see who dares to touch me, no matter how bad she is a movie queen and a very important figure in the entertainment industry. She doesn't believe that Xia Yingluo's bodyguards are really dare to take action. However, to her surprise, several bodyguards were really not polite to her. After saying they were offended, two sturdy men came up, lifted Tang Yuan up, one on the left and one on the right, and dragged her out the door effortlessly. "Let me go! Let me go!" Tang Yuan screamed, struggling continuously, and she kicked off both red high heels. Xia Yingluo stood there, watching coldly. Tang Yuan's scream became even louder. "Stop them quickly, Tony, Qiangzi, why are you just standing there?" Only then did several of her agents and assistants react. Qiangzi took the lead and stepped forward to argue with Xia Yingluo. "You are violating the law by obstructing other people's personal freedom." "Xia Yingluo, if a reporter reports it, Sister Tang's fans can drown you with just a drop of spit." Xia Yingluo didn't even bother talking to Tang Yuan, so how could she talk to her assistant now? Just sneered slightly and lowered his head to play with his nails. Tan Ying waved his hand and said in a calm and indifferent voice, "Continue to clear the place." Several other bodyguards stepped forward and directly dragged Qiangzi and a few other miscellaneous people out. Tang Yuan's angry yelling gradually faded away, and the studio door was slammed shut. The people who stayed inside were stunned and silent. This is too simple and crude, right? A big star, a popular movie queen, was thrown out like a rag. There are fans of Tang Yuan among the staff, but they moved their lips at this time and dared not speak out in anger. What can they say? The people Xia Yingluo brought were too simple and rude. Her bodyguards looked like they would really dare to kill people. Boss Li must have assigned the best bodyguards to his daughter. They were not at all like the security guards around other celebrities. The three-legged cat hired by the company can be compared. Even if they go head-to-head, they can't defeat Xia Yingluo's people. In the eerie silence, Tan Ying glanced at them one by one, half smiling but not smiling. "What are you doing in a daze? Let's get to work." "Huh? Oh," only then did these people react. The staff members headed by the director wiped away their sweat and quickly got into position and started filming. With the help of everyone, Xia Yingluo stood in the shooting area and posed according to the requirements of the technical director. Her sense of camera is probably inherited from her mother Xiaoling. She inherently knows how to be the most shining, perfect and moving under the spotlight. She vividly interprets a female warrior who returns from a battle, and her full aura makes people unable to help but prostrate themselves. Excellent. That's great. This is the resonance deep in everyone's heart. Under Xia Yingluo's god-level performance, the staff who originally had various ideas in their minds quickly got into the mood and started shooting with enthusiasm. The shooting went very smoothly, and I never had to do it over again. Soon, all the shots were completed. The director called it a day and said to Xia Yingluo with a smile on his face, "Thank you for your hard work." In his mind, he and the other photographers had the same idea, that is, letting Xia Yingluo perform this advertisement was not all about her background. Her own performance was so amazing that even if Tang Yuan came, she would not be able to achieve this effect. Is Huanisi out of her mind? Instead of using such an excellent person, we have to use Tang Yuan, who has never done this type of filming before. Xia Yingluo smiled softly and said, "Thank you for your hard work. As long as you don't offend her, she is actually not difficult to get along with, and her good upbringing makes people feel like a spring breeze." The director was so flattered by her smile that he repeatedly said it was not hard, and praised her excellent camera sense, and then personally accompanied her to the door. The door of the studio opened, and Qiangzi was waiting outside. Qiangzi's face didn't look good. When he saw the director accompanying Xia Yingluo out, he frowned and said, "Director Li, now that she's finished filming, can she let Sister Tang come to film?" He gave Xia Yingluo a disgusted look and said sarcastically, "What's the use even if it's filmed? Warness won't let you go." I overslept. There are 2 chapters left in the evening. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1339. Chapter 1339. How can you be so indifferent? The atmosphere at the scene was tense. We were so immersed in the filming that everyone forgot that this advertisement had long been replaced by Tang Yuan. Now Tang Yuan's people are still waiting outside. It was really unreasonable to make the famous movie queen wait for so long. The director planned to be a good person. Qiangzi, I'm really sorry. I feel wronged by Sister Tang for waiting for so long. I'll go over and apologize in person. Before he finished speaking, Xia Yingluo sneered. The director's heart skipped a beat, wondering whether his attitude toward Tang Yuan had made Xia Yingluo unhappy. This was an ancestor and she couldn't afford to offend her. He was thinking about a remedy when he saw Xia Yingluo adjusting her armor and said to Tan Ying, "Go and remove your makeup first. I'll die again." Tan Ying nodded, without looking at the director and Qiangzi, and personally helped Xia Yingluo walk to her exclusive dressing room. Qiangzi wanted to make a few taunts, but the director quickly stopped him. When they walked away, the director lowered his voice and said to Qiangzi, "You are too bold. What is Xia Yingluo's background? Is it necessary to compete with her for a moment?" "I just couldn't be more angry," Qiangzi sighed angrily. "What the hell, isn't it just because you got a good pregnancy? You relied on your parents to dominate and have wronged our sister Tang, and you climbed to where you are today with your own ability. I still have to be angry with her. If I were to show my true ability, Sister Tang would definitely blow her away." The director smiled bitterly, and beside them, several other staff members who came out also looked strange. Qiangzi glanced at them disdainfully. "What, you are not convinced? Our sister Tang's acting skills are great. What's the matter? Can you find anyone second in the entertainment industry? It's not surprising that he can say such a thing. Tang Yuan's acting skills are indeed withstanding tempering. She was rated as one of the most powerful young actors. But now she is facing Xia Yingluo." Qiangzi was not in the studio just now, so he didn't know, but several other staff members knew very well. Ms. Xia's interpretation of this advertisement is simply superb. I'm afraid that 10 Tang Yuans will not be able to catch her. Ahem, the director cleared his throat. Now is not the time to be angry. Qiangzi, let's go and take me to see Sister Tang. Sister Tang should have already put on her makeup and is waiting for her armor, right? Xia Yingluo will take it off later. Bring the armor and we'll start filming right away. I'll be the host tonight and treat you to dinner. I'll apologize to Sister Tang." Qiangzi's face looked better now, and he went to Tang Yuan's exclusive dressing room with the director. On the other side, in Xia Yingluo's exclusive dressing room, the girl took off her armor neatly and put on her own soft and comfortable dress. She sat in front of a spacious dressing table, and several stylists were busy removing her makeup. Her voice was slightly lazy. "Xiaozhou, do you have a lighter?" Xiaozhou was her assistant. Hearing this, he was stunned for a moment. "No miss, I'll borrow one." "No need, I have it here." Tan Ying, who was leaning against the door to watch her remove makeup, smiled, took out a valuable limited edition lighter from his jacket pocket, and turned it around between his fingers. "You know how to do it, Uncle Tan." Xia Yingluo also smiled and winked at Tan Ying through the makeup mirror. Tan Ying did not answer, but he proved with practical actions that he knew what to do. He casually picked up a clothes hanger and smashed it. The surveillance camera and fire alarm on the ceiling shattered, and debris fell all over the sky. A stylist screamed and hid his head. "What are you doing?" Jerry glared at him. Tan Ying had a smile on his face and said, "Shh." He walked to the corner of the room where the armors were piled up and lit the lighter. The jumping flames suddenly rushed to the pile of exquisitely crafted armors, and the orange-red tongues of flames swept and spread. Soon, the pile of props that the stylists spent several days and nights creating were twisted and transformed in the flames. The mass is charred and black. Stop. You're crazy. Jerry's face changed drastically, and he rushed forward to put out the fire desperately. In the dressing room, a bodyguard brought by Xia Yingluo reached out to grab him. With just a gentle grasp, Jerry was unable to move. Let me go. You have no right to destroy my props, Jerry glared at Tan Ying. Tan Ying took his time. When he saw that the pile of armor was almost burned, he signaled his assistants to put out the fire and let Jerry go. This set of props has been used by Miss Xia, he spoke slowly to Jerry, how can it be used by others again? Once it is burned, it is burned. Why are you so anxious? It is originally Miss Xia's exclusive prop. Jerry's chest heaved with anger, this man was too domineering. That's the hard work of our entire styling team, Mike, alien, don't you think so? He turned to look at his two companions. The two companions did not dare to confront Tan Ying like him, but they also looked aggrieved. Tan Ying sneered, your hard work? Are you willing to give this armor to Tang Yuan to wear and let her ruin it? The stylists then realized that Tan Ying was unwilling to give the armor to Tang Yuan, so he simply burned it. So, overbearing. Are all people in Tianyi so domineering? They looked at Tan Ying in disbelief, and then at Xia Yingluo, who was sitting in front of the dressing table watching the play quietly. Xia Yingluo has not yet finished taking off her makeup, but the stylists who originally helped her remove her makeup were too shocked by the burning of the armor and were still at a loss. Xia Yingluo had no choice but to pick up a horn comb and slowly take care of her long hair. Her voice was still lazy and indifferent, how big of a deal is it? Burning a junior work, why do you feel so distressed? You say this is an elementary work, Jerry had veins popping out on his forehead, and he was almost furious. If he hadn't been stopped by the bodyguards, he would have rushed forward, grabbed Xia Yingluo's collar and roared, do you know how much effort we put into the set of armor? You disrespect the fruits of our labor so much, stylists and stylists are also different. Some stylists only regard their work as a living job, but some people think of it as a career, and Jerry is clearly the latter. The spirit of craftsmanship and the pursuit of excellence. The most unbearable thing is others' disrespect for one's work. Even if that person is a rich and powerful socialite. Looking at his dilated expression, Xia Yingluo smiled instead, turned her fair and graceful hands upside down, and handed the comb in the palm of her hand to him. What? Jerry was still angry. Xia Yingluo tilted her head slightly and gestured to her long hair like a waterfall, where is your professionalism? You haven't taken off my makeup yet. Understatement. It was as if she had not just ordered someone to do something as outrageous as burning armor, as if she was just saying, today's weather is really nice. How can this woman be so indifferent and at ease? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1340. Chapter 1340. So what if it's burned? Jerry is angry again. Seeing that he was about to run away, several of his assistants quickly stopped him. Don't be angry, let's come, let's come. He quickly comforted Jerry and was about to take the comb from Xia Yingluo's hand. But Xia Yingluo's hands just turned around deftly, preventing them from touching the finely polished horn comb. A pair of shining eyes looked at Jerry with a half smile, like a silent command and urge. Several other stylists looked at each other and froze in place. They neither dared to step forward to the comb from Xia Yingluo's hand, nor dared to persuade Jerry to comb her hair. One of them was a wealthy young lady, and the other had a stubborn temper and accepted death. If they offended anyone, they would explode. Stylists are speechless and ask the sky, they just want to hold their heads and cry. The two were in a stalemate for a long time. Jerry gradually couldn't resist the pressure in Xia Yingluo's eyes and took the comb. Even though there were thousands of reluctances in his heart, he also understood that as a stylist, he had the responsibility to remove makeup and take care of the artist's appearance. What's more, there seemed to be a strange pressure in Xia Yingluo's eyes, which made people involuntarily look at her to obey her will. Jerry had a cold face and a mood as if he were visiting a grave as he combed Xia Yingluo's long hair. The anger was a bit weird, and several other stylists stood aside, not daring to breathe. Tan Ying felt at ease. She hired an assistant to order the garbage to be swept out, and she leaned against the wall near the door to watch the show. Although Jerry's face looked foul, he was very professional. With a desire to kill someone for revenge, he gently took care of Xia Yingluo's long hair, and was even very careful not to hurt her at all. After finally finishing combing, several stylists around him breathed a sigh of relief. They were glad that there was no conflict between the two, which was really great. However, before he could be thankful for even half a second, he heard Jerry say coldly, "You are the most vicious woman I have ever seen." Still thinking about burning the armor. Several other stylists are about to cry. "Mr. Jerry, can't you treat me better for the sake of her being the precious daughter of Boss Lee? Although we are all very unhappy about Miss Xia burning the armor, the deal is already done. What else do you want? Want her to compensate? Does that little money for raw materials make sense? Why can't it be better to do less than to do more?" The stylists looked at Xia Yingluo in silence, fearing that she would fall out on the spot and leave everyone in a hurry. Who would have thought? Xia Yingluo actually smiled softly, her smile as beautiful as a spring flower. "Jerry, I admire your professionalism. Are you feeling sorry for that set of armor? Go to Lee's house tomorrow to find me, and I will teach you how to make one." Level products. Advanced products. Jerry felt that his mind was a little confused. Of course, Xia Yingluo stood up, put her hand on her assistant's arm, and walked out of the dressing room with the assistant's careful support. "I said, the set burned today is a basic product. Wait until I get it in. If I teach you about high-end products, you will find that today's set is not worth worrying about at all." Tan Ying opened the door for her and let her out. Behind her, Jerry and several other stylists were stunned and went into panic mode. What? She said there is an advanced version of this armor? But they think this set is already perfect. The entire styling team spent a lot of effort to design it, and I can't think of anything that needs improvement. A few people looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. Does she or they know how to make professional styling props? Could this Miss Xia be a liar? However, after the shock, Jerry was the first to calm down. On that set of burned armor, the most critical lines were changed after listening to Xia Yingluo's opinions. This beautiful daughter of the Li family seemed to know physics, astronomy, and combat knowledge. Every detail was the changes are all amazing. He believed that since she said there was room for improvement in this armor, there must be some. In fact, he could feel his blood starting to boil and he couldn't wait to see her advanced version. The pungent burnt smell spread into everyone's breath, the smell left over from the newly burned armor. However, a smile broke out on Jerry's face, and he said to himself, "This set of armor is worth the money. If a set of armor can be exchanged for better and more exquisite craftsmanship, it is a great deal." The other stylists under him didn't know what the boss was doing, so they exchanged glances desperately. "It's over." Could it be that the boss was stunned by Miss Xia? Over there, Xia Yingluo was surrounded by people and walked along the corridor in the direction of going out. A dressing room door suddenly opened, and Tang Yuan's angry voice came from inside. "Why hasn't the armor been delivered yet? Qiangzi, hurry up and hurry up. Do so many people just eat and do nothing?" Then there were curses and the sound of something hitting the ground. "Sister Tang, don't be angry, I'm going, Qiangzi said as he backed out of the door, and almost bumped into one of Xia Yingluo's bodyguards. but was quickly blocked by the bodyguard's quick eyes and hands. Qiangzi turned around and saw them. His originally frightened expression suddenly turned ferocious, and he shouted, "Okay, Xia Yingluo, you finally came out. You don't want to give the armor to Sister Tang just to wait? Do you think is it useful to just dawdle? Ha, I'm going to get the armor now." His anger was finally able to be vented, and he felt extremely happy. So what if Xia Yingluo is the eldest lady of the Li family? There is Tang Yuan behind him. Don't be afraid. Xia Yingluo looked at him and sneered slightly. The bodyguard escorting her pushed Qiangzi away like rubbish. The huge force made Qiangzi step back several steps and fell back to Tang Yuan's dressing room. Oops. Wow. What happened? I don't have eyes. Screams and exclamations came one after another, mixed with the sound of more objects falling to the ground. Qiangzi fell into disgrace and said, "Sister Tang, they bully people too much. They don't take you seriously." Tang Yuan was originally sitting on a chair. When Qiangzi said this, her heart rose with anger. Yes, beating a dog depends on the owner. When these people treat her assistant like this, don't they mean they don't take her seriously? Who the is Xia Yingluo? With her blood boiling, she stood up and rushed out of the dressing room, saying sharply to Xia Yingluo, "Don't think you are great. When my commercial is filmed and released, you will know that everything you did here today is meaningless." He's just a clown. She was originally cold and arrogant, but now she looked a little angry. Xia Yingluo smiled sweetly, "Why, no one told you yet? I have burned the armor. If you want to shoot this commercial, okay, wait 10 days and a half, and let Jerry and the others make you a new armor." Bar. What? Tang Yuan looked at her in shock. "You burned the armor? You madman." End of this chapter.